Chapter 1054. When Maupassant and Song Woo saw it, both of their expressions revealed a hint of surprise. Maupassant hurried forward. He originally had to use a lot of strength to pry open Aude's tightly clenched fingers. Unexpectedly, with just a gentle pry, Aude's 5 fingers loosened, and something fell into Maupassant's hand. Maupassant was slightly stunned. He tilted his head and stared at Aude's face, a hint of complexity flashing across his eyes. But very quickly, he opened his palm and showed the item in his hand to Song Woo and Lu Jiming, who were anxiously waiting. Song Woo and Lu Jiming went forward to take a look. Song Woo frowned, her eyes revealing a look of shock. Ah Ho's ring. Song Woo looked up and met Maupassant's eyes. Why is Aude holding Ah Ho's ring in his hand? Maupassant glanced at Aude's hand. There were no signs of struggle. He guessed young Master Gu probably took off the ring and gave it to him before he got out of the car. Song Woo took the ring and muttered, "This is our wedding ring. It's vintage and classic. When we first got married, we didn't have a ring. Later, I designed vintage clothing and became famous in the market. That's why he specially found someone to design this ring. He has one, and I have one." Maupassant was deep in thought. Looking at the ring in Song Woo's hand, he raised his eyebrows. What did young Master Gu mean by giving his own wedding ring to his bodyguard? Migu, Ah Ho was taken away by Migu. Song Woo looked at Maupassant and me and said with certainty, Ah Ho must have known that Migu would make things difficult for him. He took off the ring and gave it to Aude so that he could bring it back to me. Maupassant looked at Song Woo with interest. Are you so sure that young Master Gu was taken away by Migu? Song Woo's expression was firm. Definitely. Ah Ho didn't die and wasn't washed away by the river. He was imprisoned by Migu. I agree with Madam. When Aude was found, his seatbelt was still on. From the time the bridge collapsed to the time they fell into the river, with Aude's reaction speed, how could he not have unbuckled his seatbelt? This can only mean one thing. When Aude fell into the river, he was already anesthetized. If the other party could anesthetize Aude, they could definitely anesthetize young Master Gu as well. The other party anesthetized young Master Gu to take him away. The other party anesthetized Aude to kill Aude so that when we couldn't find young Master Gu, we would think that young Master Gu had fallen into the river and drowned like Aude. Lu Jiming analyzed, until now, there has been no news of young Master Gu. The police didn't stop the search. They must have received a notice from their superiors to stop the search. In the entire K country, only Migu has the ability to take action on South River Bridge and take young Master Gu away. After Maupassant put on Aude's clothes, he laid him down and closed the coffin lid. He walked around the ice coffin and came to the other side. He looked at Aude. I was able to pry open Aude's finger and get the ring so easily. It seems like Aude really wanted to tell us that his young master was taken away by Migu. But Maupassant raised his eyebrows. Even if we are sure, what can we do without evidence? He looked at Song Woo. Do you have a way to make him release young Master Gu? Song Woo frowned slightly and thought for a moment. Yes, I can divorce Ah Ho and choose to marry him. Lu Jiming's expression changed when he heard this. Maupassant raised his eyebrows in confusion. Why are you talking about marriage again? Huang Ling seemed to have her reasons for marrying him. Now it was Song Woo's turn. Song Woo looked at Maupassant deeply. Everything Migu did was to get me. Chapter 1055. Maupassant was shocked. You mean that Migu likes you? Song Woo nodded calmly. Yes. Fuck. What a pervert. Maupassant could not help but swear. If Huang Ling saw that wild expression, she would definitely praise him a few times. He was very manly, very manly. A friend's wife should not be coveted. How can he do this? No, if you choose to marry him and he releases young Master Gu will definitely kill him. No. No matter how Maupassant thought about it, he felt that Song Wuyo's idea of marrying Migu was not reliable. If he insists on letting young Master Gu go after you marry him, then he will wait for you to marry him and directly kill young Master Gu, so that he won't come out and affect your married life. If he releases young Master Gu first and you marry him, he will also wait for you to marry him before killing young Master Gu. Moreover, he will not release young Master Gu first because he knows that once young Master Gu comes out, it will affect his plan to get you. Maupassant said a lot. Song Wuyo listened and pursed her lips. I didn't say that I want to marry him. That's good. Maupassant, as long as we have evidence that Migu destroyed the South River Bridge and threatened him, he will definitely let Aho go. No, young Master Gu is a hostage in his hands. We can't threaten him with evidence. I will investigate the evidence. Maupassant raised his eyebrows and thought a lot. Thank you. Song Wuyo looked at Maupassant sincerely. Maupassant looked at Song Wuyo. I did so much for Huang Ling, Song Wuyo nodded. I know. Huang Ling must have begged him in front of him for help. Maupassant glanced at them. Let's go out and not disturb Ade. Hearing Maupassant's words, Song Wuyo felt very upset. She looked at Ade with a heavy heart. Ade, don't worry, I will definitely save your young master. Back in the living room, Song Wuyo and Maupassant discussed how to persuade Migu to let Migu go and let Gu Yanhao go. After Maupassant left Wuyo Manor, he did not go to the hospital immediately. Instead, he began to secretly investigate the Nanjong Bridge. Migu brought a beautiful young woman to the underground prison. She didn't know why Migu had brought her here. When she saw the environment below, the woman was shocked. It was like an ancient tomb. The woman had never seen a palace before. She had seen the news of tomb robbers on TV. Those ancient tombs were like palaces. When Migu brought her here, the first thing that came to her mind was an ancient tomb. The woman was so shocked that her legs turned to jelly as she walked. She asked Migu with a trembling voice, Mr. Migu, why did you bring me here? Make love. Migu faintly opened his mouth and uttered these two shocking words. Zwa. The woman was stunned when she heard that. Suddenly, her eyes lit up. Could it be that the president brought her here to have sex with her? When she thought of this, the woman was no longer afraid. She followed Migu closely. It was their dream as a woman to have sex with the president. They didn't want to be the president's wife, but it was not bad to be the president's woman. The woman behind Migu stared at Migu's straight and handsome back view happily. What a strong figure. And it seemed like they were the only ones in this basement. The woman thought to herself that she had to perform well later. If the president liked to hear sounds, she would shout as loudly as she could. He would definitely be satisfied. Chapter 1056. With a heart immersed in a beautiful fantasy, the woman followed Migu into a room. The woman only came back to her senses from her fantasy when she smelled a peculiar odor. Only then did she realize that she and the president were already in a room. No. They weren't the only ones in this room. There was a person tied up in front of them. Ah! The woman thought it was a dead person and jumped in fright. Her hands tightly covered her mouth so that she wouldn't scream out loud. The woman's eyes widened as she looked at the man who was tied up in front of her in fright. The man hung his head, his hair messy, his clothes dirty, and his image in a sorry state. If she hadn't carefully seen his chest rise and fall slightly, the woman would have thought he was dead. He was still breathing. The woman sighed in relief. Mr. Magoo, this. The woman looked at Magoo in confusion. Because of fear, her voice became stuttering. Magoo didn't pay attention to her. Instead, he walked closer to Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao was sitting, and he was standing. Therefore, his posture was clearly twice as strong as Gu Yanhao. He was dressed neatly, and Gu Yanhao's clothes were stained with blood. He was in an extremely sorry state. In terms of image, he lost again. Seeing Gu Yanhao like this, Magoo's heart was strangely satisfied. In his previous life and this life, people had always remembered Gu Yanhao. Now, he was finally hated by people. Seeing him like this again, Magoo was very satisfied. Wuyo didn't believe that you were dead. She was very stubborn and insisted on waiting for you to come back. Magoo looked down at Gu Yanhao and said indifferently. Gu Yanhao, who hung his head, slowly opened his eyes. His eyelids were very heavy. She said that even if you were seriously injured, lost your memory, forgot about her, and married another woman, she wouldn't blame you. Gu Yanhao's eyes flashed with gratification. His woman, that was his woman. Ah ho, she is really loyal to you. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao with displeasure. This loyalty makes me feel depressed. Gu Yanhao raised his head and glanced coldly at Magoo. Then, the corners of his lips curled into a mocking smile. The woman standing behind Magoo was shocked when she saw Gu Yanhao's face. It was really Gu Yanhao. The woman's expression changed slightly as she looked at Magoo in shock. He had locked young Master Gu up here. Look, what have I brought you today? Magoo turned sideways and pointed at the woman beside him. Gu Yanhao looked up and glanced at the woman. When he saw the woman, Gu Yanhao immediately understood what was going on. Magoo smiled. I want to see if Wuyu really doesn't mind that you have another woman. After saying that, Magoo looked at the woman sharply and ordered, go and serve him. If you don't serve him comfortably, don't even think about leaving this place. Mr. Magoo. He. The woman pointed at Gu Yanhao, her eyes filled with fear. Magoo looked at the woman mockingly. Ride on his legs. You know how to do it, right? Go over. Magoo glared at the woman with the last two words. The woman's body trembled and her legs turned to jelly. She looked at Magoo with a pale face. I don't know how to. If you don't know how to, you'll die. Magoo's eyes were as cold as ice without a trace of emotion. This made women think of him as a man-eating beast. If you serve him comfortably, not only can you leave this place, you can also enjoy wealth. Magoo looked at the woman coldly. Do you want to die or live? Chapter 1057. I want to live. I want to live. The woman nodded her head in a daze, then looked at Gu Yanhao in horror. Gu Yanhao was expressionless. The way he looked at her was even scarier than Magoo's. He was like an injured wolf that was ready to fight back at any time. Go over. Magoo saw that the woman was hesitating and did not dare to go forward. He shouted, if you don't go over, don't even think about leaving this place for the rest of your life. Threats were always so effective. The woman trembled as she went forward. Her face was frighteningly pale. Magoo. Gu Yanhao suddenly raised his head and glared at Magoo. You bastard. Have you forgotten the feelings between us? Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao with a hint of helplessness in his eyes. Ah ho, don't blame me. When I couldn't control myself either. Let me out. Gu Yanhao roared. I can't turn back. Magoo looked deeply at Gu Yanhao. If I let you out, it will definitely stir up a storm. I quite like this kind of life. You can stay here in peace. Beast! Beast! Gu Yanhao shouted angrily. He was so angry now that he wanted to skin Magoo alive. I will take good care of your wife and children. Ah ho, don't worry. I won't be as cruel as Dongfang Xian and torture you to death with vinegar. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao and curled his lips into a strange smile. I will also let you live comfortably. Every day, I will find different women to serve you. Devil! The woman trembled as she walked in front of Gu Yanhao. After hearing Magoo's words, she could not help but curse in her heart. He was the president. How could he do such a thing? If you have the ability, let me out to fight with you. You imprisoned me. Who do you think you are? Gu Yanhao's entire body was exposed. His bloodthirsty eyes were like a wild beast. Magoo raised his chin, exuding a chilling coldness. He looked at the woman. Move faster. The woman stood in front of Gu Yanhao, submissive. It seems that without medicine, you won't grow courage. Magoo said. The woman did not understand his words. She looked back and glanced at Magoo. She did not know when, but Magoo was holding a syringe in his hand. The woman's expression changed. Mr. Magoo, what is this? Magoo! Stop! Gu Yanhao shouted at Magoo, who was walking towards the woman. You are the president, not the devil. Magoo's body seemed to be shrouded in a terrifying and cold chill. He did not listen to Gu Yanhao's shout. He looked at the woman's eyes with a strange sneer. The woman felt the dangerous aura from his body. Her pupils widened. It was as if she saw her own death diary. No. Don't. The woman stared at the syringe in Magoo's hand. The transparent liquid inside scared the woman. Magoo laughed. This is an aphrodisiac, not poison. What are you afraid of? After that, he rudely pulled the woman's collar and pulled her forward. Suddenly, the needle pierced the woman's neck. Ah! The woman was moved. Her neck hurt and she cried out. The strange smile on Magoo's face became thicker. Looking at the liquid entering the woman's body, he laughed proudly. He pulled out the needle and swung his arm. The woman fell on Gu Yanhao's body. Ah! The woman's hands pressed hard on Gu Yanhao's abdomen. Gu Yanhao's eyes were sharp. He stared at the woman coldly. Get lost. This was an aphrodisiac. As soon as the woman got up, she felt hot all over. Her whole body felt strange. Chapter 1058. Her cheeks suddenly turned red. When she saw Gu Yanhao, she was like a hungry wolf. Take her away. Take her away. Gu Yanhao stared at Magoo. You take her away. Magoo looked at the syringe in his hand proudly. There was a strange sneer on his face, but his eyes were extremely gloomy. No. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao calmly. She can't go. In the future, I will send you one woman like her every day. I feel so uncomfortable. Give me. 1 minute, the woman was still submissive. The next minute, she became a wanton and charming slut. She quickly took off her clothes and pounced on Gu Yanhao. Scram! Gu Yanhao yelled at the woman hysterically, hoping that his yelling would wake up the woman who was still in a daze. When the woman touched him, he felt extremely disgusted. He struggled and kicked his knee into the woman. However, he was tied up very tightly. His limbs and waist were all tied up very tightly. His struggle was useless. The woman was already lying on his lap, pulling his pants. Seeing the woman's reaction, Magoo was very proud. Gu Yanhao raised his head and looked at Magoo with a bloodthirsty gaze. There was a trace of hatred in his eyes. Magoo turned a blind eye. He didn't care about Gu Yanhao's gaze at all. You dirty person. Don't think that you can get Wio's heart. Magoo, I will not let you go even if I die. Gu Yanhao said coldly. He knew that at this time, no matter how he shouted, Magoo would not let him go. He didn't struggle. It was useless. The unconscious woman pulled his pants a few times, but she couldn't pull them down. She climbed on top of him. She started to unbutton his buttons. The woman's face was close to Gu Yanhao's face. After feeling his breath, she felt comfortable. She raised her chin and moved her bright red lips towards Gu Yanhao's face. She wanted to kiss him. Gu Yanhao felt disgusted when he saw how unrestrained she was. The woman moved closer and wanted to kiss Gu Yanhao. Gu Yanhao's eyes turned cold. He tilted his neck back and used his forehead to hit the woman's forehead. The sudden hit made the woman scream in pain. Ah! The woman's body fell backward and fell to the ground. Her head hit the ground heavily. Once she fell, the woman stopped moving. Soon, blood flowed out of the woman's nose and ears. Gu Yanhao hit her so hard that he felt a pain in his forehead and dizziness. Magoo glanced at the woman and saw that her nose was bleeding. He froze for a moment. She then looked at Gu Yanhao and saw him glaring at her like a ferocious beast. Gu Yanhao panted. He was no different from a wild beast that was tied up and unable to resist. You actually used this method to reject her. Magoo looked at Gu Yanhao sharply. When you hit her, you could have died suddenly. Gu Yanhao smiled and closed his eyes. He did not want to look at Magoo's disgusting face. If he cared about his life, he would not have tied him up here. Magoo's eyes darkened. He walked over, squatted down, and checked the woman's breathing. His eyes were cold. She's dead. It was the third day since Magoo left the farm and returned to M City. He had just entered the living room and was lying on the sofa. Uncle Fu went up to him and whispered in his ear, "Young master, someone is investigating the collapse of the South River Bridge." When Magoo heard this, he stopped pulling at his tie and his eyes turned cold. Worryless. Chapter 1059. Uncle Fu said, "It doesn't seem like it. The person who investigated the Nanjiang Bridge incident isn't from K country." Magoo asked, "Maupassant?" Uncle Fu wasn't sure. After the other party knew that we had discovered them, they quickly retreated. I checked the IP address they used to log into the human flesh search network. It doesn't show that they're from K country. Magoo narrowed his eyes slightly. His gaze was extremely cold. "Young master, could it be the power behind young master Gu?" Uncle Fu asked worriedly. Magoo shook his head and tugged at his tie. "No, I've already controlled them. They're my people now." Uncle Fu asked, "Could it be Maupassant?" Magoo said, "Investigate secretly and stop the other party." Uncle Fu nodded. "Got it." Magoo's entire being became incomparably cold. "If necessary, kill the other party." Huang Ling wanted to eat millet and red date porridge. Maupassant wanted to make it for Huang Ling personally. However, there was no millet in the ward, so he had to buy it. Moreover, with Song Wuyo, Su Jing, Sister Song, and Xiao Bao accompanying her, he wasn't afraid that she would be bored alone in the ward. Maupassant went to the hospital's basement parking lot to pick up his car. The basement parking lot was huge. Even though there were cars coming in and out, it was very quiet. Maupassant walked down the corridor towards his car. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold, and his body quickly hid behind the pillar behind him. Bang! A bullet flew past where he had been standing and hit the pillar. The pillar made of cement suddenly cracked, and it was a shocking sight. The other party had used a silencer. In the quiet parking lot, it didn't cause much of a commotion. When Maupassant was investigating the Nanjing Bridge incident, he had thought that he would be in danger. When he was stopped during his investigation, he knew that the other party had discovered him. He knew that he was in danger. Therefore, he carried a gun with him. He took out the gun from his waist and aimed ahead. Whoosh! Behind him, a car was rapidly approaching. Maupassant turned around and frowned. The car was very fast. It was obvious that the other party wanted to kill him. Just as the car was about to hit him, he jumped and somersaulted on the roof of the car. Through the windshield, the muzzle of the gun fired a shot at the driver. Peng! Maupassant felt a sharp pain in his arm and his whole body shook. He landed steadily and turned his head to look. He had been shot in the arm. In the ward, Huang Ling rubbed her eyes. Frowning, he muttered, "My left eyelid is twitching." Song Wuyo smiled and said, "When I don't sleep well and am overly tired, I will also dance." Huang Ling looked at Song Wuyo. "You don't look well. Have you been having trouble sleeping?" "You already know the answer." Bang! The door of the ward was suddenly slammed open. The huge commotion startled everyone inside. Even Xiaobao, who was in Sister Song's arms, jumped in fright. Everyone's gazes shifted to the door. Huang Ling was shocked. Maupassant. Maupassant was in a sorry state. His left sleeve was stained with blood as he rushed in. He had fought with the other party in the parking lot. He was worried about Huang Ling's situation and was afraid that the other party would do something harmful to Huang Ling. He could only retreat and return to the ward. Seeing that they were all safe and sound, he heaved a sigh of relief. "You're injured. Is it?" Seeing the gunshot wound on his arm, Song Wuyo suddenly thought of Migu. "Help me call the nurse over to treat my wound." Maupassant walked in and sat on the chair. Huang Ling was so anxious that she wanted to get out of bed. "Brother Mo, aw." Chapter 1060. She had gotten off the bed too hastily, and the wounds on her feet had yet to heal completely. With that stomp, the pain in her feet caused her to feel as though her legs were cramping. Her body leaned forward and she looked as though she was about to fall. Maupassant was quick to react. He bounced up from the chair and rushed up. Without knocking into Su Jing, he hugged Huang Ling tightly. His breath suddenly spread out in front of her nose, and her heart skipped a beat. Huang Ling looked at his sleeve that was stained with blood up close. Her hand was grabbing onto his arm, causing her palm to feel sticky. Her heart that had just skipped a beat suddenly felt as though it was being squeezed painfully. She lowered her head and looked at Maupassant's wound anxiously. "What happened? How did you get hurt?" Song Wuyo, Su Jing, and Sister Song looked at Maupassant anxiously as well. When Maupassant was hugging Huang Ling, he had moved too much and pulled at his wound. He frowned and looked at Huang Ling lovingly. "I was attacked in the car park." When Huang Ling heard that, her face changed. "Was it Migu?" When Song Wuyo heard that, she frowned slightly. Maupassant chuckled gently. "I don't know who the other party was. You've lost a lot of blood." Huang Ling looked at Maupassant's wound with heartache. "I'm fine." Maupassant looked at Song Wuyo. "Have you called the nurse?" Song Wuyo nodded her head. When he rushed over to hug Huang Ling, she had already pressed the nurse's bell. "You've lost so much blood. How can you be fine?" Huang Ling frowned. That look of heartache made it seem as though she wished that the wound was on her. "Sit down." Maupassant put Huang Ling down. "My arm is injured. Do you still want me to carry you?" When Huang Ling heard this, she quickly sat back down on the bed. She raised her head and looked at Maupassant's arm with heartache. Seeing her like this, Maupassant couldn't help but laugh as he patted her head. Little brother Ling, I'm fine. The bullet just grazed my skin. Are the bullets inside? Huang Ling asked worriedly. No. When everyone heard this, they heaved a sigh of relief. Soon, the nurse came and treated Maupassant's wound. With Maupassant injured, Huang Ling was not in the mood to eat the millet porridge. She asked Su Jing to cook a bowl of noodles for her. Huang Ling blamed herself. It's all my fault for being crazy and wanting to eat millet porridge. Otherwise, you wouldn't have gotten hurt. When Maupassant heard this, he chuckled. Silly girl, it has nothing to do with you. If the other party wants to attack me, they will attack sooner or later. Huang Ling was very worried about his safety. She looked at Maupassant anxiously. Brother Mo, could it be Migu? He doesn't want you to investigate the matter of Nanjiang Bridge, so he wants to kill you. Don't make wild guesses. It might not be Migu. It could be someone else. Someone else. Who could it be? Li Zhongjin. Silly girl. Maupassant gently knocked on Huang Ling's forehead. I will find out who the other party is. Don't think too much. Huang Ling pursed her lips. Can I not think about it? Do you regret knowing me? Maupassant held Huang Ling's face and stared at her with a faint smile. The two of them looked at each other affectionately and tenderly. Song Wuyo gave Su Jing and Sister Song a look, and then quietly left the ward. Walking out of the ward, Su Jing said enviously, Maupassant is so good to Huang Ling. Just by looking at Maupassant's eyes, I know how important Huang Ling is to him. Song Wuyo was very gratified that Maupassant was so good to Huang Ling. It was just that, ever since they came out, Song Wuyo had a thoughtful look on his face. The attack on Maupassant must have been done by Migu. He was warning Maupassant not to investigate the matter of Nanjiang Bridge. Chapter 1061. After returning to the villa, Song Wuyo rested for a while and then went downstairs. Sister. Ban Jianing, who was sitting on the sofa in the living room, saw her and stood up happily. Song Wuyo, who was deep in thought, heard Ban Jianing's voice and was stunned for a moment. Then, she looked over and said in surprise, Jianing. Song Wuyo walked downstairs quickly. Did you just arrive? Why didn't you call me before you came back? Ban Jianing went forward and gave Song Wuyo a warm hug. Then, the two siblings sat down and Sister Song served them fruits. Ban Jianing looked at Song Wuyo and said seriously, I know about brother-in-law's matter. Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianing. After half a year, he had changed a lot. Half a year ago, he suddenly said that he wanted to go to America to study. He was in a mental hospital previously and it affected his studies. Gu Yanhao told her that it was right for him to study. Song Wuyo knew that the reason why Ban Jianing chose to study in America was that he wanted to start over in an unfamiliar environment. Because Muxin had rejected him, now Ban Jianing had grown taller and stronger. He was not as thin as before. He was gentle, elegant, and had an innate aristocratic aura. He was wearing a simple, monochromatic sportswear, but he still looked so bright and handsome. There was also a masculine aura between his eyebrows. Song Wuyo smiled and said, You've grown up and become more mature. I'm relieved to have a girlfriend. Ban Jianing smiled helplessly. Sister, you're still in the mood to joke with me at a time like this. Song Wuyo smiled. It's a big deal that Jianing has a girlfriend. I'm serious. I'm not joking. The news of brother-in-law's sacrifice has spread overseas. Ban Jianing looked at Song Wuyo with heartache. Sister, you've lost weight. You've lost a lot of weight. Jianing, your brother-in-law didn't die. He's still alive. People who didn't dare to face the truth would say that. Ban Jianing held Song Wuyo's hand and looked at her deeply. Sister, don't be sad. You still have me. I will replace brother-in-law and take good care of you. Silly brother, your brother-in-law will come back. As long as Migu doesn't kill him. When Ban Jianing heard this, he was somewhat puzzled. Migu didn't kill him. Sister, what do you mean? Song Wuyo told Ban Jianing about her suspicions and Migu's recent reaction. She felt that Ban Jianing had grown up. It was time for him to face and analyze some complicated matters. After Ban Jianing heard this, he sank into deep thought. After a while, he said softly, Sister, I also think that brother-in-law was imprisoned by Migu. Maupassant's investigation of South River Bridge should have alarmed Migu. Today in the hospital, Maupassant encountered a killer and he was injured, Song Wuyo said. Sister, if this was done by Migu, he will definitely think that someone is investigating, so he is very careful. We can't find anything. Now, he has power and influence. It's just a matter of minutes for him to kill us. Ask Maupassant to stop investigating South River Bridge. Otherwise, he will die, Ban Jianing said. If he doesn't investigate, he won't be able to get evidence. Migu admitting it is the best evidence. Song Wuyo's eyes lit up and she looked at Ban Jianing. You have a way. Ban Jianing looked at Song Wuyo with sparkling eyes. Whether this method works or not, we can give it a try. At around 8 p.m., Song Wuyo went out alone. She didn't even allow Su Jing and Lu Jiming to follow her. Chapter 1062. She went to the bar where Huang Ling used to work. She sat in front of the bar counter and ordered 2 bottles of red wine. She drank 2 full glasses of wine in a row. After a while, her whole face turned red. She was a good drinker. In her previous life, she could drink big bowls of wine without getting drunk easily. Now, because of this body, she could not withstand the torment of alcohol. After 2 glasses, she felt her face and neck turn red. Did you see that? Isn't that Song Wuyo? She's drinking alone. That's not drinking alone. She's drinking because she's sad. Young Master Gu is dead. She's sad, so she came here to drink. Sitting next to Song Wuyo were 2 socialites. Seeing that Song Wuyo was drinking alone with a sad face, they could not help but gossip. Song Wuyo turned a blind eye to their words and drank cup after cup of wine. She was wearing a loose t-shirt with bat-like sleeves and a pair of white tights. She had tied her hair up in a bun, and the bun was fixed with her love string. She looked fashionable and pure. This kind of outfit was very youthful. Of course, she was still very young. Because of the alcohol, her face was red. Her shimmering eyes were drunk and hazy. She was very charming. Did you see that? Isn't that the legendary Qing Jian hairpin that has been passed down since the X dynasty? Yes. I didn't expect that it would look so good on Song Wuyo's hair. I went to the auction. Young Master Gu spent a lot of money to buy it for her. I remember now. It seems to have cost tens of millions. I rarely see her wearing such a valuable hairpin. You don't understand. Young Master Gu is dead. She's wearing it because she misses their relationship. After the 2 women saw the Qing Jian hairpin on Song Wuyo's hair, they talked again. Song Wuyo ignored them. They could say whatever they wanted. She only cared about drinking. She finished 1 glass after another. Soon, half of the full bottle of wine was gone. Migu's car had just arrived at the Mu estate. Before he got out, he received a call. Speak. His voice was cold. Okay, keep an eye on her. I'll go over now. After hanging up the phone, Magoo turned the car around and quickly drove out of the Mu estate. Ching Wan Duo came out of the villa in high spirits. She came out when she heard the sound of his car. As soon as she came out, she saw his car turn around and leave. Ching Wanduo's smile immediately disappeared. Was this man that busy? Ching Wanduo gritted his teeth. Since he was back, why would he go out? Wasn't he going to see Song Wuyo? Ever since Gu Yanhao went missing, Magoo had been giving her the cold shoulder. Ching Wanduo was not stupid. Of course, she knew what Magoo was thinking. Ching Wanduo gritted her teeth. Her eyes were cold. She would never let Magoo get Song Wuyo. When Magoo arrived at the bar, it had already been cleared. If the president was coming over, would the people in the bar dare not clear the place? Moreover, he was very fast. Even the manager and boss of the bar had to leave, let alone the other staff. Of course, there was only Song Wuyo inside. Magoo's tall figure appeared at the entrance of the bar. A bodyguard came forward and said respectfully, "Sir, Miss Song seems to have drunk." Okay. Magoo strode into the bar. Seeing Song Wuyo's back, his cold gaze softened. Song Wuyo held the wine glass and stared at the wine in it. She muttered to herself, "Why is it so red? Is it blood?" After saying that, she raised her head and took a sip. She pursed her lips. It's sweet. It's not blood. Chapter 1063. Hearing her muttering, Magoo couldn't help but chuckle. He went forward and took the glass in her hand. "You're drinking red wine, not blood," he said warmly. Song Wuyo looked at Magoo as though she couldn't see him. She shook her head and tried hard to look at Magoo. "Moo. Magoo?" she asked uncertainly. Magoo looked up and glanced at the hairpin on her head. "Yes." Song Wuyo looked unhappy. "Why do I see you again? Am I drunk?" Magoo's gaze deepened as he looked at her red face. "You don't want to see me?" "Of course." "Wuyo, why are you wearing the love strings?" "Ah, Ho gave it to me." Song Wuyo supported her head and smiled at Magoo. "Does it look good?" Magoo's gaze deepened. "It doesn't look as good as the one I wore in the Axe Dynasty." "You're talking about the Axe Dynasty again. I hate hearing about the Axe Dynasty. But I miss the times when we fought together. Although I know you like Dongfang Xian, we got along very well. I liked how forthright you were at that time. Now, you've changed. You've become a little mischievous and unwilling to get along with me. You're very annoying to me." Song Wuyo smiled drunkenly. "You locked Ah Ho up. How can I not be annoyed?" When Magoo heard that, a look of shock flashed past his deep eyes. "How did you know?" "Nonsense. If Ah Ho wasn't locked up by you, where else could he have gone?" Song Wuyo rolled her eyes at Magoo as though she was looking at an idiot. She looked adorable, pure, and innocent like this. Magoo looked at her with a burning gaze. It turned out that she looked so charming when she was drunk. This was the first time he saw her drunk. Ho fell into the South River Bridge and died. We can't even find his corpse. He's not dead. Song Wuyo punched Magoo's chest and scolded, "I won't allow you to say he's dead. If you say he's dead again, I'll hate you for the rest of my life." Her small fists pounded on his body, as if gently knocking on his heart. Magoo's heart skipped a beat. His eyes became incomparably deep as he looked straight at Song Wuyo's face. Song Wuyo held her chin with both hands. Her beautiful eyes seemed to be covered with a layer of mist. She was hazy and could not be seen clearly, but she was so charming. Sorrow gradually appeared on her face as she stared blankly ahead. "You pervert, do you take me for a fool?" Do you think I didn't think that you were the one who killed Ade and destroyed the South River Bridge? When Magoo heard that, there was a look of shock in his eyes. Song Wuyo looked at Magoo with tears in her eyes. Didn't you destroy the South River Bridge just to catch Aho? Magoo, you caught Aho because you don't want him to announce to the media that you framed the Gu clan and slandered the Gu clan's children's clothing as poisonous. Or do you want me? As long as you say you want me, I. Song Wuyo's hand scratched in front of her and then grabbed Magoo's shirt. Magoo's expression was calm, but his eyes were surging with emotions. Was she going to give herself to him? If I say I want you, what will you do? He asked with anticipation in his heart. As long as you let Aho go, I'll be with you. Magoo, as long as you let Aho go, you can take me anywhere. How about we go to Ping Valley? Song Wuyo looked at Magoo with a drunken expression. When Magoo heard that, he was stunned for a moment. Ping Valley, she still remembered Ping Valley. Chapter 1064. Ping Valley was a place that was more like a paradise than a paradise. When she was locked up in the cold palace, he had mentioned to her that if she was willing, he would bring her to Ping Valley. Over there, they could live a simple and down-to-earth life, just like the commoners in Ping Valley. Moreover, Dongfang Xian would not be able to find her, she had rejected his offer. He knew that she only had Dongfang Xian in her heart. She was willing to be locked up in the cold palace and live a cold and miserable life. Now that she had mentioned Ping Valley, Magoo looked deeply at Song Wuyo. A look of helplessness flashed past his handsome face. Wuyo, we can't go to Ping Valley anymore. Magoo. Song Wuyo tugged on Magoo's arm. He leaned forward and the distance between them got closer. The unique scent of her body assaulted his nostrils. Magoo's heart was filled with ripples. Song Wuyo lifted her flushed face and smiled. She said drunkenly, as long as we want to go, we can go. Let go of Aho. Let him go. Don't imprison him, okay? Wuyo, I didn't imprison Aho. Magoo was not stupid. He would not admit it so easily. You can fool them, but you can't fool me. Actually, I know you, your feelings for Aho are real. You're like brothers. I promise you that as long as you let him go, I won't let him blame you. He won't know that you slandered the Gu clan and destroyed the South River Bridge. Wuyo, don't be silly. Magoo gave the bodyguard behind him a look. The bodyguard behind him understood and took out a device to detect eavesdroppers. He walked over to Song Wuyo and scanned her body. He scanned her body from head to toe. Song Wuyo looked at the man unhappily. I'm not going to board the plane. Why are you sweeping? When Magoo heard this, he couldn't help but laugh. What a cute woman. He glanced at the bodyguard. The bodyguard shook his head, indicating that Song Wuyo did not have a listening device on her. You're drunk. Give me your phone. I'll ask Lu Jiming to pick you up. Magoo removed Song Wuyo's hand from his shirt. Cell phone. Song Wuyo fumbled around with her hands. Where's my cell phone? Magoo, you left it in the taxi. Song Wuyo looked surprised and uncertain. Magoo gave the bodyguard a look, and the bodyguard understood. He took out his phone and dialed Song Wuyo's number. Sir, your phone is switched off. Seems like you really left it in the taxi and it was taken away. The bodyguard hung up and said to Magoo. Magoo raised his eyebrows and looked at Song Wuyo. Other than the cell phone, what else do you have? Bag. I think it's a bag. Song Wuyo frowned. She looked like she was in pain. Magoo smiled helplessly. You can even leave your bag behind while taking a taxi. How did you pay? I don't know. I forgot. I think it was Su Jing who gave it to me. I think I took a taxi here. I forgot, you're drunk. You're not thinking straight. I didn't drink, Migu. I didn't drink. Song Wuyo looked at Migu faintly. How long are you going to lock Ah Ho up for? 3 years. Or 5 years? Migu pursed his lips tightly and didn't answer. Fine, lock him up. I'll wait for as long as you lock him up. If you lock him up for 5 years, I'll wait for you for 5 years. If you lock him up for a lifetime, I'll wait for a lifetime. Song Wuyo smiled gently at Migu. This way, you can forget about going to Ping Valley with me. Migu smiled. How are we going to Ping Valley? Chapter 1065. By plane, of course. Do you want to walk? Where is Aping Valley? Aping Valley is at Aping Valley. Wu Yu, you're drunk. You don't even know what you're talking about. I'm not drunk. I know what I'm talking about. Migu, let Ah Ho out. I really miss him. If you don't let him out, I'll come here every day to drink. People say that drinking is bad for the body. Are you afraid that I'll hurt myself? I'm not afraid. You're not afraid that I'll be sad. Why are you afraid that I'll hurt myself? I'm afraid that you'll hurt yourself. I'm even more afraid that you'll be sad, Migu said in a low voice. Then why did you imprison Ah Ho? I'll only be sad if you imprison him. He forced me to do it. Migu saw that she did not bring her phone or eavesdropping device. They were the only ones in the bar, so he could only be honest with her. Besides, she was drunk. After tomorrow, she would forget what she said tonight. Nonsense. You were the one who forced him. Song Wuyo glared at Migu. You're not honest at all. Seeing her like this, Migu wanted to laugh, but he could not. However, the way he looked at her was full of love and tolerance. He loved her. So, no matter what she became, it was good and perfect for him. Wu Yu, I really didn't want to imprison Ah Ho. He forced me to do it. Not only did he stop me from helping Country L to attack Country B, but he also donated money to Country B. He's so rich. Let the Gu clan go bankrupt. If the Gu clan goes bankrupt, he won't have any money and will be obedient. I thought that after the incident with the Gu clan's children's clothing, he would be busy thinking about how to deal with it. I didn't expect him to find out who framed the Gu clan. Wu Yu, if I don't stop him and he finds out that I slandered the Gu clan, he will publicize it. How can I face the whole country? It's so complicated. Song Wuyo looked like she was about to fall asleep. Why are you talking so much? I'm not drunk. I can understand what you're saying. Chirp, chirp, chirp. It's like a little bird singing in my ear. It makes me want to sleep. You're such a bad man. Didn't you just want to stop Ah Ho from investigating you for framing the Gu clan? Wouldn't it be better to just tell him to stop? Why did you destroy the South River Bridge? Why kill Ade? You don't know that I cried when Ade died. You're crying. She cried when Ade died. Ade was Ah Ho's confidant. Now that he's dead, my heart aches. How can I not cry? Also, many innocent people died when the Nanjiang Bridge collapsed. I even shed tears for them. Silly woman, it's their fortune that they're willing to sacrifice themselves for me. Moreover, I've given their families a lot of money. Their families won't be sad because of them. Because the money he gave was enough to make them happy. How did you become the president? How can you treat human lives like grass? Their lives are also worth a lot of money. Magoo chuckled. It's because they're valuable that I compensated them with a huge sum of money. A huge sum of money. Song Wuyo looked at Magoo faintly and smiled like a silly girl. Do you have that much money? You must have embezzled the money from the national treasury. Magoo gently flicked Song Wuyo's forehead. Wuyo, do you have to be so smart? You guessed all of this. I'm Imperial Concubine Song's talisman body. Of course I'm smart. Magoo, on account of Ah-ho resisting the flood and lightning for you, and the fact that I gave you the prescription, can you let Ah-ho go? Don't imprison him, okay? The Goo clan is about to go bankrupt. If he doesn't come back, my head hurts. Chapter 1066. Wuyu, it's not that I don't want to let him go. If I let him go, will he let me go? Then what do you want? Kill him. Do you agree to that? Magoo's gaze turned cold. Nonsense. He's my husband. Why would I agree to you killing him? He's also your good brother. No, he's not my brother. He's my enemy. He's always been my enemy. That was the case in her previous life, and it was the same in this life. You're a bad guy. Song Wuyo's eyes turned red, and her face was full of pain. You're really a bad guy. You harmed the Goo clan, imprisoned Ah-ho, and destroyed the South River Bridge. You've done so many bad things. You're a bad guy. With that, Song Wuyo was about to punch Magoo. Magoo grabbed her two small fists. Alright, Wuyu. You're like a little wild cat. He wouldn't be able to stand it. Men like little wild cats. Headache. My head hurts. Song Wuyo frowned. Her face was full of pain. You can't drink in this body. Why don't you cherish yourself? Magoo raised his eyebrows and reprimanded her. Ha! Ah-ho isn't here. How can I cherish myself? Ah-ho isn't here. You still have Little Bao. Song Wuyo was stunned when she heard Little Bao. She looked at Magoo quietly. You. Will you kidnap Little Bao? Magoo was slightly stunned. Why would I kidnap Little Bao? She's Ah-ho's daughter. Wuyu, I'm not that heartless. Alright, I'll send you back. Magoo helped her up. I'll do it myself. I don't need you to help me. She didn't want to be photographed by the media and be accused of having an affair again. Magoo refused to let her go and helped her out of the bar. Magoo, don't kill Ah-ho, don't kill him. Song Wuyo looked at Magoo drunkenly. If you kill him, he'll hate you for the rest of his life. Seeing her like this, Magoo couldn't bear it. He chuckled. Alright, I won't kill him. You're not allowed to starve him either. You have to bring him food. The corners of Magoo's mouth rose, revealing a meaningful smile that no one could understand. I bring him food every day. Did you lock him up at the ranch? Occasionally, I'll send him some horse milk wine. He likes it. Alright, I'll listen to you. Ugh, Song Wuyo wanted to vomit. Magoo held her tightly and asked with concern, how is it? Do you want to go to the hospital? No. I want to go home and look at the treasure. Song Wuyo looked like she was about to throw up. Her expression was very uncomfortable. I'll send you back. They walked out of the bar and got into the car. Magoo sent Song Wuyo back to the manor. He only left after he saw Sister Song Wuyo drinking the hangover tea. After he left the manor, Song Wuyo, who was lying on the sofa, opened her eyes slowly. Ban Jianing, who was beside her, looked at her with concern. Sister. After closing her eyes for a while, Song Wuyo's eyes were bloodshot and red. How is it? Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianing anxiously. Ban Jianing nodded his head and smiled. Everything was recorded. I heard it clearly. When Song Wuyo heard that, her eyes turned cold. Migu really imprisoned Ah Ho. Sister, your acting skills are not bad. Ban Jianing looked at Song Wuyo approvingly. Song Wuyo rolled her eyes. I was really drunk and uncomfortable. How about now? Are you still uncomfortable? I drank the hangover tea. I feel better. Do you want to go upstairs? Song Wuyo's eyes lit up. Okay. Upstairs, in Ban Jianing's bedroom. Ban Jianing was holding a CD that was not even the size of his palm. I've recorded all your recordings on this CD to prevent hackers from destroying them. Chapter 1067. Well, I want to listen to it once, Song Wuyo said. Okay. Ban Jianing skillfully operated the computer. After a while, the conversation between her and Migu in the bar sounded from the speaker of the laptop. Song Wuyo and Ban Jianing listened very carefully, trying to find the mystery in Migu's words. After listening, Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianing. Can this be used as evidence? Ban Jianing nodded. Of course. This is Migu's personal admission. He destroyed the Nanjiang Bridge and even compensated. If this recording is posted online, how big of an impact will it have on him? He can't be the president, but it's very dangerous for brother-in-law. Then what should we do? We know that brother-in-law is imprisoned at the ranch. Song Wuyo was surprised. You mean to say that we should go to the ranch to save him? That's the plan. The ranch is so big. I don't even know where Ah Ho is being held. Song Wuyo blamed herself. I was too nervous. I was afraid that Migu would be suspicious and find out that there was a recording chip installed in the hairpin. I forgot to ask him where Ah Ho is being held at the ranch. You don't have to blame yourself. At least we know that brother-in-law is not dead and has fallen into Migu's hands. He also promised you that he won't hurt brother-in-law for the time being. Ban Jianing took the hairpin from Song Wuyo's head. After removing a thin chip from the hairpin, he returned the hairpin to Song Wuyo. Keep it well. Song Wuyo's gaze fell on the chip, and a touch of relief flashed across her eyes. Jianing, I didn't expect you to be so powerful. He had become a computer expert and even knew how to invent these recording chips. The chips were in other places, so he could hear what was going on outside at home. In this world, high-tech was really amazing. Ban Jianing smiled at Song Wuyo. Am I a genius? Song Wuyo nodded. Yes, you're a genius. In the future, they don't have to call me a fool anymore. Who would call you a fool? Mushin. When Song Wuyo heard this, her smile froze. She looks at Ban Jianing. Mushin is still working in the Song enterprise. She lives a low-key life. If you still like her, you can go to see her. Forget it. Ban Jianing smiled faintly. I won't see her, sister. My feelings for her aren't deep enough for me to be heartbroken. Surprise flashed through Song Wuyo's eyes. So, you don't like Muaxian? I don't want to think about personal matters for the time being. After studying, I realized that for a man, knowledge and career are often more important than love. Song Wuyo's eyes inadvertently flashed with a smile. Jianing has finally grown up. Ban Jianing's eyes flashed. Sister already has a child. If I don't grow up, even little Bao will laugh at me. Song Wuyo looked at Ban Jianing lovingly. Are you used to the life there? Ban Jianing nodded. I'm used to it, sister. I'm trying to start a career. Song Wuyo was surprised. Starting a career? Aren't you in school? why are you starting a career? Ban Jianing smiled and said, I know a classmate in M City over there. Let's start a media company together. Media company? Song Wuyo was very unfamiliar with this type of company. Ban Jianing nodded. Yes, in the entertainment industry. If it's big, will it be the kind that can sign stars? Ban Jianing didn't want to explain too much for the time being. Almost. Song Wuyo thought for a moment and smiled. Well, Jianing has grown up. You can also start a career. Ban Jianing looked at Song Wuyo with heartache. So, sister, if the Gu clan goes bankrupt, then so be it. If the Song enterprise can't do it, then so be it. In the future, when I make money, I will support you, my brother-in-law, and your children. Chapter 1068. You sure talk big. Brother-in-law and I. You can say this to me. Don't say it to your brother-in-law. You'll hurt his pride. He needs his brother-in-law to take care of him. Ban Jianing scratched his head. I'm just joking. Brother-in-law is more capable than me. Of course, he doesn't need me to take care of him. Speaking of your brother-in-law, I'm worried. Do I have to pretend to be drunk again to trick Migu? No. From now on, you've never tried to trick Migu when you're drunk. You have to forget about it. Be careful not to be suspected by Migu. Then what should we do? How do we save him? I can use a human satellite to search. Human satellite to search. Song Wuyo was shocked. It sounded very profound. She did not understand it at all. Ban Jianing nodded. I can't tell you too much now because I'm not sure if it'll work. Song Wuyo nodded in understanding. Then, she asked, do you need me to do anything? Brother-in-law's skin or hair? Do you have it? Give me some. These are a little hard to find. I'll go back to the bed and look for them. Okay. Song Wuyo got up and left Ban Jianing's bedroom. About 5 minutes later, Song Wuyo came in with 2 strands of hair. They were found under the pillow that Gu Yanhao used to sleep on. She had almost searched the entire bed to find these 2 strands of hair. She handed them to Ban Jianing and said, take good care of them. If you lose them, they should be gone. Ban Jianing found a small sealed plastic bag and put it in it. Of course I have to take good care of such an important thing. Sister, brother-in-law hasn't been home for so long. You can still find his hair on the bed. How long has it been since you washed your bedding? Brat, are you joking? I wouldn't dare. I'm guessing that sister can only sleep when she smells brother-in-law. That's why you can't bear to wash your bedding. You're afraid of washing away his scent. You know, and you still say it. You brat, you've learned to tease your sister? Do you have nothing better to do? If you have nothing to do, hurry up and use your human satellite to find your brother-in-law. Yes. Sister, I'm going to start working. You can leave now. I'm tired too. I'm going back to sleep with little treasure. 3 days passed. Everything was quiet in M City. Ever since the Gu clan's shares were suspended, the news about the Gu clan was not as hot as before. Everyone's gaze turned to Amy Group. After Ame Group poached the designer from the Gu clan, the news about Ame Group never stopped. A new batch of women's clothing would be on the runway in the UK next week. They had even invited female celebrities and models to endorse the brand. When the Gu clan fell, it was naturally the Ame Group that emerged and became the big boss of M City. Song Wuyo sat in the CEO's office of the Ning Corporation, looking at the design drawings on the table. She wanted to enter the women's clothing industry in the name of the Song enterprise. For the past few days, she had been working through the night to finish the design drafts. She didn't know if the Song enterprise could enter the women's clothing industry smoothly. The Gu clan had fallen into such a state that even their chain stores had no business. Luckily, the Gu Chun building belonged to Gu Yenhao. Even if there was no business, she didn't have to worry about the rent. Suddenly, an idea popped into Song Wuyo's mind. She could use Gu Yenhao's store to sell the clothes she designed. She could change the store's name to something else. When other customers saw this, they would at most think that Gu Chun had rented out the store. They wouldn't think that she was the one who designed the clothes. Song Wuyo did this because she wanted to prove her design skills. After she became famous, Gu Yenhao would come out and take over the Gu clan again. Then, she could become the designer of the Gu clan. Chapter 1069. With this idea in mind, Song Wuyo immediately contacted Secretary Zhang and asked him to come to the Song enterprise. In less than 20 minutes, Secretary Zhang, dressed in a Gu clan suit, appeared in the president's office of the Song enterprise. Song Wuyo proposed her idea to Secretary Zhang and told him how to run the store. After hearing it, Secretary Zhang praised Song Wuyo for being so smart. Song Wuyo looked at Secretary Zhang in surprise. "Do you agree with this idea?" Secretary Zhang nodded. "Yes, madam. You can also choose a special name for the store. Once the business becomes popular, you can use the store's name as a clothing brand. In the future, it will be convenient for the Gu clan to be innocent." Innocent? Song Wuyo was confused. Secretary Zhang nodded. "Yes. The Gu clan has never done anything evil. They don't need to be innocent." Song Wuyo smiled. "Anyway, madam, your proposal is feasible." Secretary Zhang looked at Song Wuyo's design drafts and was shocked by the clothes she designed. Song Wuyo wrote down an address and handed it to Secretary Zhang with several design drafts. Secretary Zhang took it and looked at Song Wuyo, waiting for her instructions. Song Wuyo looked at her. "There is an address on it. You can find Lu Zhongyan in this tailor's shop according to this address and ask him to make 30 pieces of clothes in different sizes for me. You can give him as much as he wants. I'll make it up to you later." Secretary Zhang nodded. Her eyes were shining. "No problem. As long as he can make beautiful clothes." Secretary Zhang had been idle for a long time. Finally, she had something to do. "After you find Mr. Liu, you can vacate a store and make some changes. As for the name of the store, I'll tell you when I think about it." Secretary Zhang smiled. "Okay, madam. I'll go now." Song Wuyo smiled and nodded. "Okay." As soon as Secretary Zhang went out, Song Wuyo received a call from Maupassant. On the other end of the phone, Maupassant's words made her feel like she was struck by lightning. Her hand trembled and her phone almost fell to the ground. "I'll be right there." His voice was trembling and his face was pale. After hanging up, she hurriedly grabbed her bag and rushed out of Song Enterprise. She rushed to the hospital as fast as she could. In the ward, Maupassant and Huang Ling looked very serious. Song Wuyo rushed in and came to the bed. She looked at Huang Ling, who had a serious expression on her face. "How is it? What did the doctor say?" Huang Ling wanted to cry, but she couldn't. It was so uncomfortable to hold it in. Her eyes reddened when she saw Song Wuyo. She glanced at Maupassant and said in a low voice, "Yes, the doctor said he suspected uremia." Song Wuyo's mind buzzed when she heard that. He fell onto the chair and sat down. "I heard that this illness is very serious." Maupassant frowned and saw Song Wuyo's reaction. He could feel that Song Wuyo cared about Huang Ling more than he did. How could this be? Song Wuyo's heart tightened. She looked at Huang Ling with a heavy heart. Your injury hasn't healed yet. How could you be sick again? Huang Ling smiled bitterly. Wuyo, it's just a suspicion. Some indicators have exceeded. It hasn't been confirmed yet. I feel weak all over these 2 days. I vomited a lot today. I thought there was something wrong with my stomach. Huang Ling looked at Song Wuyo and comforted her. Wuyo, don't worry. Even if it's uremia, it can be treated. How could Song Wuyo not be worried? Chapter 1070. The doctor said that if it's dialysis, there are many patients who can live for more than 20 years. Huang Ling laughed. Isn't it still uncertain? Huang Ling, don't be discouraged, it's just a suspicion, it's not necessarily true. Song Wuyo pursed her lips and said. Whether it's true or not, it's really up to fate. Huang Ling looked at Song Wuyo. Actually, if I really get uremia, even if God gives me another 20 years of life, I think it's enough. Don't talk nonsense. Maupassant's handsome face was gloomy as he coldly looked at her. 20 years, it's too short. How old was she? If you live happily, 20 years will be too short. If you don't live happily, 20 years will be a kind of torture. Huang Ling said. Maupassant looked at her sinisterly. If you follow me, you can only be happy. Little brother Ling, the results will be out in 2 hours. In these 2 hours, I won't allow you to talk nonsense. I'm not talking nonsense, I'm mentally preparing. Huang Ling curled her lips. If I say that I won't get it, the result will be the opposite, I will be deeply affected. Maupassant and Song Wuyo were silent. Huang Ling looked at Maupassant and faintly asked, Brother Mo, if I really get uremia, will you dislike me? Yes. Maupassant said coldly with a sullen face. When Huang Ling heard this, she made an expression as if she was about to cry. I'm so hurt, can't you answer a little more tactfully? No. I don't care, whether you dislike me or not, you have to give me a breakup fee. If I get this disease, the treatment fee is very high. Maupassant looked at her indifferently. We've never been in a relationship. Why should I give you a breakup fee? You. Huang Ling was furious. She was so anxious that tears welled up in her eyes. She tugged at Song Wuyo's hand and said aggrievedly, Wuyo, look at this black-hearted man. Huang Ling, can't you tell that Maupassant is worried about you? He's despising me. He kissed me at the ranch and even wanted to sleep on the same bed as me when he was hospitalized. Now, he's saying that he's never been in a relationship. What a black-hearted man. Humph. Maupassant snorted coldly. That's an elder brother's way of showing his love for his younger brother. It can't be considered love, Song Wuyo murmured. Great, even you are standing on Maupassant's side. As expected, there is no filial son in front of a sickbed. I hate you all, humph. When Maupassant heard that, his gloomy eyes could not help but soften a little. If not for the fact that he was worried that Huang Ling might really be suffering from uremia, Song Wuyo would definitely have laughed out loud when he heard that. She looked at Huang Ling helplessly. Your illness hasn't been confirmed yet. How can there be no filial son in front of a sickbed? Also, Maupassant is at most your boyfriend. He can't be considered a filial son. When Huang Ling heard that, she was a little embarrassed. She glared fiercely at Maupassant. What a good brother Mo. Maupassant looked at her with a dark face. His deep eyes were like the sea, and his thin lips were tightly pursed, revealing his worry and nervousness. The atmosphere in the ward was also heavy. Maupassant's gaze fell on Huang Ling's face without blinking. Being stared at by him, Huang Ling's heart ached. Her face was gloomy and fearful. If she really was suffering from uremia, wouldn't that mean that she knew that she was going to die? Even if she had 20 years to live, she and brother Mo could only be together for 20 years at most. 20 years, they had not even grown old together yet. After 2 torturous hours, Huang Ling's results were finally out. Chapter 1071. Her index was over, her urine composition was not up to standard, and her kidneys were swollen. It was not because of uremia, but because Huang Ling was injured all over her body, causing inflammation. Also, it was caused by 3 days of medication and infusion. After careful testing, the hospital finally confirmed that Huang Ling did not have uremia. Hearing this news, Song Wuyo and Huang Ling breathed a sigh of relief. The two of them felt as if they had been resurrected from the dead. Maupassant, on the other hand, listened to the doctor with a dark face. As the doctor spoke, he felt a sense of oppression and did not dare to continue. He hurriedly told Huang Ling to rest more, drink more water to detoxify, and eat a light diet before leaving. If he did not leave, was he going to stay here and be killed by Maupassant's gaze? She did not really have uremia. Song Wuyo and Huang Ling hugged each other and almost burst into tears. Maupassant walked forward and looked at them. Huang Ling looked up and met his suppressed and joyful gaze. Thinking of how he had said disdain just now, Huang Ling stuck her tongue out at him, then turned her face away and did not look at him. It was obvious that she was angry with him. Huang Ling, you don't know. When I heard that you might have uremia, I was shocked. Song Wuyo patted her chest gently. Actually, I was shocked too. Song Wuyo, this doctor is really too much. He didn't mention it in advance before it was confirmed. It was quite scary. Huang Ling, if the doctor stayed here for 1 more minute, he would definitely be beaten. Song Wuyo, you have to remember what the doctor said. Eat a light diet and rest more, okay? Huang Ling, I remember. Song Wuyo, I still have something to do at the company. I'll go back first. I'll come to see you tomorrow when I'm free. Huang Ling, okay, you have to bring Xiao Bao over tomorrow. Song Wuyo said, good. She's excited every time she sees you. After Song Wuyo left, Huang Ling pouted and sat there angrily. Maupassant poured her half a cup of warm water and handed it to her. Drink, the doctor said to drink more water to detoxify. Oh. Huang Ling took it. Maupassant sat down in front of the bed. Seeing her angry look, he couldn't help but laugh. Okay, you look ugly like this. Huang Ling said in a strange tone, I'm already ugly. With the scar on my face, I'm even uglier. If you're not angry, then don't act like you're angry. It's quite funny. Maupassant laughed. Who says I'm not angry? I'm full of anger right now. You're still hospitalized. Your anger will affect your recovery. At most, it's just 1 life. I don't care. You don't care, but I do. Huang Ling snorted, don't you dislike me? I'm more jealous of you like this. Maupassant looked at her and smiled slightly. Huang Ling took a breath and looked at Maupassant seriously. Brother Mo, if I really had uremia, what choice would you make? I'll love you more. As long as you can eat, as long as you want to eat, I'll eat with you. The luxury goods you want to buy, the places you want to go, I'll satisfy you. Maupassant didn't even need to think and said this sentence in 1 breath. Huang Ling was very touched when she heard this. She knew that Maupassant wouldn't dislike her because she was sick. While waiting for the results, she had thought about it. If she was really sick, she would leave him and not implicate him. Being with him, she didn't want to be with him forever. She only wanted to have him. Chapter 1072. She looked at his deep and sincere eyes. Brother Mo, you're always so nice to me. Maupassant's expression was calm as he looked at Huang Ling indifferently. My mommy said that my love is overflowing. If I don't treat you well, I'll suffocate to death. Brother Mo, you must be very happy to have such a mother, right? Yes, I'm quite happy. Maupassant looked at her with a faint smile as his mellow voice was incomparably tender. With you, I'm even happier. The moment Huang Ling heard that, her heart skipped a beat as she opened up her arms and said coquettishly, Brother Mo, I want a hug. Maupassant leaned forward and pulled her into his embrace. He smelled the medicinal scent on her body and patted her gently with his hand on her shoulder. In the eyes that Huang Ling could not see, his gaze was gentle and deep like the sea. Huang Ling, the words that I said earlier on were all fake. I know. Huang Ling buried her face into his firm chest and listened to his strong heartbeat while feeling his intoxicating aura. I'm thinking that if you're really sick, we should get married immediately. Huh? Huang Ling could not understand. Why did they have to be sick to get married immediately? Couldn't they get married immediately if they weren't sick? For this disease, if it's in the early stages, it can be controlled and can be lived for a long time after dialysis. If the disease is cured, we can live together and get pregnant. Pregnancy can prolong the life of the person with this disease and reduce the possibility of it getting worse. Ha! There's such a saying. It's not a saying, it's a practice. You mean to say that after we get married, we'll do that every day? Yes. Maupassant curled his lips evilly. TSK, TSK, TSK. Brother Mo looks like a gentleman, but I didn't expect his entire heart to be yellow. I'm serious. I'm telling the truth. Maupassant used his chin to knock her head gently. Brother Mo. Huang Ling pursed her lips. His tone was filled with endless dependence. The man responded to her with a nasal voice. It was low and gentle, making her heart flutter slightly, as if a deer had lightly bumped into her. My thoughts are the complete opposite of yours. Huang Ling curled her lips and said. Maupassant raised his eyebrows. Leave me. Yes. I don't want to be your lover, nor do I want to be your brother. I want to be a stranger to you. These words made Maupassant feel very uncomfortable. What was this girl thinking? If you're really suffering from uremia, go and find a healthy, beautiful, well-off woman who can give birth to many children for you. These words, Maupassant did not like to hear at all. It sounded like it was for his own good, but it was actually a very selfish thing to do. Little brother Ling, no matter what happens in the future, you are not allowed to have such thoughts. What do you mean by being a stranger? You want me to marry another woman? Don't tell me this. Huang Ling raised her head and looked at him in shock. He lowered his eyes and met her gaze. He said in a deep voice, If I'm sick, you're not allowed to leave me either. If you want to leave me, wait until the day I die. When Huang Ling heard this, her eyes reddened. Brother Mo, if he was sick, how could she bear to leave him? She couldn't wait to feel sorry for him. Do you remember my words? Maupassant said. As he spoke, his warm breath sprayed on Huang Ling's raised face. Huang Ling nodded. I remember. She suddenly turned her hand, hooked it around his neck, and lifted him up. Chapter 1073. Maupassant held her waist with both hands and looked at her deeply, asking, What are you trying to do? Huang Ling smiled shyly and moved her mouth closer. This made Maupassant's body tremble and his heart beat faster as though an electric current was running through his body. His deep brown eyes opened for a moment and then narrowed slightly. There was a look of shock in them. The hands that were holding Huang Ling's waist also tightened because of the electric current and hugged her even tighter. Her performance was clumsy, but Maupassant liked her like this. Huang Ling accidentally knocked his teeth, and he could not help but chuckle. Instantly, Huang Ling felt awkward and the atmosphere was strange. Huang Ling blushed and glared at him. "What are you laughing at?" She was kissing him, and he had the nerve to laugh. Clumsy. Maupassant looked at her with his eyes twinkling. Practice makes perfect. I don't do it often, so of course I'm clumsy. Huang Ling retorted with a red face. Maupassant lowered his head and smiled charmingly. He looked at her deeply, and his eyes that were as deep as the sea gradually smiled. "Why do you want to kill me?" he asked softly. Huang Ling was stunned. Why did she feel like she was being condemned? She suddenly felt embarrassed. She glared at Maupassant and muttered, "Why do you want to kill me? You can't wait to kill me. Do you want to become my woman?" Maupassant smiled and his words made people want to slap him. "I don't care about forever, I care about having you once." "I haven't really had you yet," Huang Ling said. "Recuperate well, and I'll let you have me." Maupassant pinched her waist. Huang Ling was someone who was afraid of being sore. After being pinched like that, she pressed down on his arm. "It's so itchy, stop it." Maupassant lowered his head and pressed his forehead against hers. His voice was deep and magnetic. "I'm looking forward to it, Huang Ling." The innocent Huang Ling immediately understood what he meant. She blushed, her heart suddenly thumped. Today's events made her feel as if she had experienced life and death. She was so scared that she wanted to cry. Later, he was told that he wasn't seriously ill. She was very excited and felt as if she had survived a disaster. If they could be together, they should cherish it and not be pretentious. She caressed Maupassant's face and ran her fingers through his hair. "I'm looking forward to it too." He loved it when she played with his hair like this. Maupassant was afraid that he wouldn't be able to control himself, so he stopped her. "Have a good rest. Don't do this to me. I'll break down." Huang Ling's voice was as low as a kitten's. "Then let's break down." She was taking the initiative. "Breaking down isn't good. Huang Ling, I want your first time to be romantic and beautiful. I don't want to do it in the ward, like this." Huang Ling was finally obedient. She buried her face in his chest and hugged him tightly. She also didn't want to spend her first time in the ward. Although, she really wanted to be his woman. Maupassant smiled charmingly and hugged her. With a beauty in his arms, even if they didn't do it, it was also a kind of happiness. This kind of happiness was more wonderful than that. This way, he was already very satisfied. Maupassant's eyes were gentle. It was enough to be able to hug her for a lifetime. P.S. Today's winner is, I Will Be Happy, Purple Tulip's Flower Language, Chaotic 9 Demon. Today's prize is 800 book coins. Add Winshin and send her your QQ, Winshin will give you the prize. Chapter 1074. The two of them hugged each other like this for 2 hours. Lu Fengfeng came to the door with the soup and saw them hugging each other. Both of them had a happy and calm smile on their faces. She quickly left and stood at the door. After being stunned for a moment, she laughed. Her daughter had divorced Migu and was seriously hurt by Migu. But now she had a good man. As a mother, she was happy. Lu Fengfeng looked down at the soup pot in her hand. She had specially made this soup for Maupassant. He was also hurt, but he cared more about Huang Ling's injury. He was quite satisfied with this future son-in-law. The more he looked at him, the more he liked him. So, she tried different ways to make delicious food for Maupassant. I'll come back later. Lu Fengfeng smiled and went downstairs to sit in the pavilion. Song Wuyo did not expect that Migu would come to the Song Enterprise to look for her. He brought her nutritious soup and fruit salad. Song Wuyo sat in front of the desk and looked at the lunch box on the table. A few seconds later, she looked up and saw the man sitting in front of her elegantly. The man had an elegant and noble smile on his face. His eyes were gentle. He was quite a handsome man. But when she thought of him imprisoning his good brother, her husband, Song Wuyo felt a little disgusted. But she did not show it. She looked at him in confusion. What do you mean? It's for you to eat, Migu said gently. A few days had passed. M City was peaceful. Migu thought that Song Wuyo would do something. But he did not expect that she seemed to have forgotten about the incident at the bar. She also did not remember what she had said to him. I've had lunch. Song Wuyo smiled gently. Have you really eaten? Weren't you at the hospital at noon? Migu said. Song Wuyo frowned slightly. Can I assume that you are following me? I'm not following you. Ching Wanduo saw you at the hospital. Did you go to see Huang Ling or are you not feeling well? Look at Huang Ling, fortunately, she was just frightened. The doctor said that she has uremia. When Migu heard this, his eyes narrowed as he stared straight at Song Wuyo. So, you're planning to donate your kidney to her for a transplant? When Song Wuyo heard this, she was slightly startled. She hadn't finished speaking yet. Why did he interrupt her? Song Wuyo didn't like the way he was worried about her at all. Huang Ling is my only good friend. If this is true, why not? Fortunately, Huang Ling was not sick. I forbid it. Migu's eyes suddenly turned cold. I'm going to laugh. This is my business. It's not up to you to stop me. Your health is not good to begin with, and your physique is terrible. If you donate another kidney, how long can you live? She would collapse from exhaustion. Song Wuyo did not care. How long I can live is up to fate. Besides, Ah Ho is not by my side. How long I can live, what does it matter? Ah Ho, Ah Ho. Other than Ah Ho, is there no one else in your heart? What about Xiao Bao? What about me? Migu was a little agitated. Migu, if there's nothing else, please go back. I have to work. Also, the doctor was suspicious, but the results are out. Other than the injuries you caused, Huang Ling is fine. Song Wuyo said indifferently. If not for the fact that Gu Yanhao was in his hands, she would not have been polite to him and would have chased him away long ago. It was just a thought. He was now a powerful and influential president. What do I have to do for you to accept me? Migu looked at Song Wuyo and mumbled. Chapter 1075. You don't have to do anything. Because no matter what you do, I won't like you. If you let Ah Ho go, I won't hold a grudge against you. If you don't let him go, I'll only hate you and hate you. What 1,000-year love? What 1,000-year love? She didn't care about it at all. What she cared about was Gu Yanhao. Wuyo, one day, I'll let you realize how good I am. Migu got up and turned to leave. Looking at his back view, Song Wuyo's gaze gradually turned cold. She looked at the things on the table and sighed helplessly. She really didn't understand why Migu had become like this. In the past, he wasn't annoying. Right now, he was really annoying. Song Wuyo wasn't in the mood to eat the food that Migu had sent, so she asked her secretary to take it out to eat. The food was very delicious, and the secretary praised it. At night, Song Wuyo returned to the manor. Ban Jianing told her that he had used the human flesh satellite to search and found Gu Yanhao's location. He put the computer on the coffee table. On the screen was a map that looked like a maze. A green dot represented their location. A red dot represented the location of the person being searched. This location happened to be Migu's ranch, the small bungalow where he lived. Song Wuyo was surprised. Migu locked Ah Ho up in that bungalow. Ban Jianing explained, the results of the search are. Sister, this is a new search function that I invented. I'm not 100% sure whether it's accurate or not. However, through the search of brother-in-law's hair, I know that he's at the ranch. I guess it must be accurate. This result has a lot to do with the relationship between Migu and brother-in-law, and the relationship between Migu and the ranch. Ah Ho must be there. But, if he was locked up in the bungalow, why couldn't Ah Ho escape? Song Wuyo was a little puzzled. Gu Yanhao's skills were not bad. The bungalow is not big, and there are no traps. I suspect that there is a maze under the bungalow, Ban Jianing said. Maze? Song Wuyo was surprised. Ban Jianing pointed at the vicinity of the red dot, which was a light yellow line. It's dark. It's the structure of the ranch. We're all familiar with it because we've stayed there before. The light-colored thread was the wedding thread of her brother-in-law's environment. It was too light and messy, so she couldn't see it clearly. But it's definitely not the structure of the bungalow, but it's also in the same location as the bungalow. Brother-in-law should be locked up in the basement of the bungalow. When Song Wuyo heard this, her eyes flashed with astonishment. She looked at Ban Jianing and asked in surprise, Jianing, your computer skills have reached such a high level. Ban Jianing said modestly, Sister, it's nothing. If I have such skills, when brother-in-law comes back, I'll plant GPRS tracking on you and him. You'll know where he is, and he'll know where you are. If you're kidnapped, we'll know the exact location. GPRS tracking can be planted on a person's body. Song Wuyo felt that this was very high-tech. Ban Jianing nodded. I once saw a report about this. It's planted under the skin, and then it matches the skin, so it won't be discovered by the enemy. That's so advanced, Song Wuyo commented. Let's not talk about planting GPRS for now. What we need to do now is how to save brother-in-law. Are you sure your brother-in-law is locked up in the basement? From the information returned by the human satellite, it's indeed so. Chapter 1076. Jianing, let's discuss it with Maupassant, Song Wuyo said after thinking for a while. Ban Jianing knew about computers, but saving people was not his strong suit. Maupassant was different. He was a high-ranking soldier and was good at fighting. Okay. Ban Jianing nodded. Ask him to come over. I also want brother-in-law to come back soon. Song Wuyo called Maupassant. In less than 30 minutes, Maupassant appeared at Wuyo's manor. Ban Jianing looked at the information from the satellite on the computer. He had the same idea as Ban Jianing. There was a basement in the ranch. Gu Yanhao was locked up in the basement. Song Wuyo also told Maupassant about the conversation between her and Migu in the bar. After hearing this, Maupassant curled his lips and smiled strangely. He looked at Song Wuyo. Do you want him to be impeached? Before Song Wuyo could answer, Ban Jianing said first, of course. Although Migu reduced the taxes of the people after he came to power, he used his power as the president to hurt innocent people and end innocent lives. He must be impeached for this. He is not worthy of being the president. After Song Wuyo heard this, she looked at Ban Jianing with a complicated expression. According to the rules of the royal family of K country, after Ban Dekang stepped down, he could promote his eldest son to be the president. However, his eldest son was missing and his whereabouts were still unknown. Naturally, Ban Jianing would be the president. If Magoo stepped down, Ban Jianing could totally take over. Ban Jianing had an indescribable strength. He should be like his father, Ban Dekhang. If you want him to be impeached, I have a better way. At the same time, we can expose Magoo's true colors in front of the whole country and save young Master Gu. Maupassant's eyes flashed. Wuyo rejected me. Magoo grabbed Gu Yanhao's clothes and stared at Gu Yanhao maliciously. It's all your fault. She rejected me because of you. Gu Yanhao lifted his heavy eyelids and sneered at Magoo. He said coldly, "Do you know how pitiful you look?" "I am pitiful. You've been locked up here by me and can't see the light of day. How dare you say I'm pitiful? You can see the light of day, but so what? The woman you loved for 2 lifetimes doesn't love you. If not, would she not love me?" Magoo let go of Gu Yanhao, his eyes flashing with determination. "In the X dynasty, if you hadn't locked me in prison and tortured me to death, she would have followed me to Aping Valley." Gu Yanhao curled his lips coldly, laughing at Magoo's foolishness, laughing at Magoo's foolishness. Magoo turned around and lit the coal in the iron pot. On top of the coal, there were several thick pieces of steel. After the coal was ignited, it burned very quickly and made a sizzling sound. Beside the iron pot, there was a ventilator to prevent the coal from being poisoned. In front of him, there was a chair. Magoo sat down and leaned against the back of the chair lazily. The corners of his thin lips curled up into a strange, shallow smile. He looked at the coal in front of him. It was getting redder and redder, like a strange golden light. "I remember that you like to use burning torture to extort confessions. Ah ho, people say that if you were severely injured in your previous life, the scar would still be there when you reincarnate, but it would just become a birthmark. Do you believe it?" Magoo looked at the fire and said with a faint smile. Gu Yanhao pursed his thin lips and looked up at the fire in front of him with a bloodthirsty gaze. As the coal burned, the steel on it gradually turned red, just like a piece of reflective red braised fiery jade. Chapter 1077. Gu Yanhao knew what Magoo wanted to do even if he used his knees to think. Ha! Gu Yanhao suddenly laughed coldly with a hint of ridicule. He raised his eyelids and looked coldly at Magoo. He gritted his teeth and said, "I really regret it, I regret helping you become king." Magoo slowly and elegantly pulled off his tie. When he grinned, it was incomparably gloomy. The cold aura emitted from his body was like a dark demon emperor that could take people's lives. After taking off his tie, he unbuttoned his shirt one by one and smiled while looking at Gu Yanhao. That gaze, that smile, it was like an Azura, like a devil. Every dog has its day. In our previous life, didn't I also desperately help you become king? You were called the god of war, and I was called the soul of war. Don't you know how much you and I sacrificed in those 8 years of war? In the end, how did you treat us? Magoo said unhurriedly. That faint smile on his handsome face seemed to be understating a story. But when he looked at Gu Yanhao's eyes, there was a chilling hatred and coldness that made people's hearts tremble. I don't have any memory of our previous life. Magoo, don't you think it's funny to tell me this? Gu Yanhao's eyes were full of ridicule. No. Magoo shook his head. The wider his smile, the colder his eyes were, as if covered with a thin layer of ice. He looked at Gu Yanhao and said indifferently, "It's not funny, it's a painful experience." "Why do I feel it's cute?" "Ah ho, I hate you for imprisoning me. But you killed Wu Yu, I hate you even more. Wu Yu and I are innocent. You suspect that we had an affair. No, you know that we didn't have an affair. You purposely framed me with this accusation. You know that Wu Yu's life in the cold palace was worse than death, and she was bullied by the empress. But you didn't do anything, and in the end, you even sentenced her to death. This makes me hate you even more. That silly woman. She was hurt so badly by you in the X dynasty, but I still love you so much in this life. I can't accept it. In my previous life, you were the emperor and I couldn't beat you. But now, it's different. I'm the president and I can beat you. Money, power, vanity, love. As long as she wants it, I can give it to her. I can give her what you can't give her, but she doesn't care. Towards the end, Migu's expression became somewhat malevolent and twisted. He looked coldly at Gu Yanhao and said coldly, "What's so good about you? Why do I have to be loved by her in both lifetimes? Trust your heart." Gu Yanhao said. He looked into Migu's eyes and smiled. It was a sarcastic smile. Even if you kill me, you can own the whole world, but you can't have Wuyo. I respect her. Otherwise, do you think she wouldn't have become my woman? If you obtain her body but not her heart, you will suffer even more. Suffer? Migu smiled sarcastically. What pain can be more painful than being tortured by you in the heavenly prison and jumping into the river of forgetfulness? Suddenly, Migu stood up. The corners of his mouth curled up with a strange sneer. He said indifferently, "Now, I'm going to let you taste the pain you once gave me." He took off his shirt and showed Gu Yanhao his firm and strong chest. On his chest, there was a large dark purple patch of skin that was different from the skin color next to it. At a glance, it looked like a birthmark. Didn't you ask me what this was when you were young? Ah ho, I'll tell you now. You're the one who gave me this scar. Chapter 1078. Gu Yanhao raised his head and looked coldly at Migu's chest. Migu laughed. They said it was a birthmark, but they didn't know how much pain I suffered behind the birthmark. Pervert. Gu Yanhao said coldly, talking about the past life in this life, pervert. Migu smiled, picked up the tongs, turned over the iron, and said unhurriedly, "They don't even have the right to talk about the past life. We are so special. It's a waste not to talk about it. This iron is almost burned." Migu picked up a piece, raised it in front of his eyes, and looked at it with a sneer. "It's done." He took the tongs and walked in front of Gu Yanhao, smiling coldly. "Ah ho, do you know why I let you experience this pain? It's because of Wuyo." At the mention of Song Wuyo, Gu Yanhao's eyes flashed slightly, and he looked coldly at Migu. Fortunately, Huang Ling was suspected by the doctor to have uremia. If it was true, she would have insisted on donating her kidney to Huang Ling and let Huang Ling do the transplant. I didn't agree with her to do such a surgery, but she said that without you by her side, she didn't care how long she could live. I told her my thoughts, but she didn't care. Since we've come to this step, I'll pay you back in this life for what you made me suffer in my previous life. After saying that, without waiting for Gu Yanhao's response, the palm-sized piece of iron burned with a dazzling red color, and it was branded on Gu Yanhao's chest without hesitation. Bang! The red iron burned his clothes, and then the flesh on Gu Yanhao's chest. The sound and the white smoke that came out was like a steak frying on the table. The smell of burning meat spread in the air. Pain! Gu Yanhao's forehead and neck were in so much pain that sweat immediately appeared. He clenched his teeth tightly. No matter how painful it was, he did not make a sound in front of Migu. His thin and delicate face was scrunched up because of the excessive pain he was enduring. Even so, he was still handsome. His eyes were bloodshot as he looked at Migu with bloodthirsty eyes. He looked like a wounded beast. Migu looked at his scalded wound and curled his lips in satisfaction. So, it's so exciting to listen to such sounds. No wonder you liked to brand me so much back then. You must have liked hearing this kind of sound. Gu Yanhao's breathing quickened and his body trembled violently because of the pain. Other than glaring at Migu with murderous eyes, he did not utter a single word. He knew that it was useless for him to say anything now. If he shouted, it would only arouse Migu's interest. After one round of branding, Migu felt that it was not enough. He returned to the stove and put down the piece of iron with flesh. He picked up another piece, turned around, and handed it to Gu Yanhao's chest. When Migu came out, it was already 2:00 in the morning. Uncle Fu was waiting for him in his bedroom. Migu was in a good mood. When he saw Uncle Fu, he smiled and said lightly, "Let's talk tomorrow." "Young master, something happened to Miss Song," Uncle Fu said. When Migu heard that, his eyes narrowed. "What happened?" "Car accident, serious injury." Migu's face suddenly changed. "What?" Migu rushed to the hospital. Song Wuyo had been rescued and transferred to the VIP ward. Her left foot was in a cast. Her forehead was wrapped with gauze. In her ward, Su Jing, Sister Song, Mo Passan, Huang Ling, Ban Jianing, Lu Jiming, and Lu Fengfeng were all there. Migu's hurried appearance shocked everyone. What happened? Migu stared at the person on the bed. No one knew who he was asking. His voice was so cold that it made people's hair stand on end. Chapter 1079. Ban Jianing did not look at him and replied coldly, "Car accident. Serious injuries. The doctor said that she's out of danger for the time being. However, whether or not she can wake up depends on her willpower." When Migu heard that, his face was extremely dark. How could it be a car accident? Migu glared at Su Jing and Lu Jiming. "Aren't you guys in charge of her chauffeur? Why are you guys fine when she's in trouble?" Su Jing's face was filled with regret and sadness. Her eyes were red as she choked out, "Missy didn't want me to go out with her these few nights. She said that she wanted to go out for a drink or to relax and didn't want me to follow." Migu raised his brows. That was right. She had been going to the bar to drink alone these few days. He knew that she was upset because Gu Yanhao was not by her side. Migu walked up and looked at Song Wuyo. The unconscious woman's face was so pale that there was no color at all. Her hands were clenched tightly into fists by her sides. The doctor said that her brain was seriously injured, internal injuries, leg fractures. Her heartbeat and pulse are very weak. Ban Jianing choked out. Poor Missy. She hasn't lived a comfortable life in her entire life. With Sister Song, she was always bullied. After marrying young Master Gu, they finally fell in love with each other, but young Master Gu left her. Now that she's injured, I'm really scared, that she'll go look for young Master Gu. Shut up. Migu suddenly shot a sharp and cold gaze at Su Jing. That gaze was extremely scary. Su Jing was so scared that her back shivered. She did not dare to make a sound. Not only did she not dare to make a sound, she did not even dare to breathe. Migu's gaze at Song Wuyo was deep and complicated. Suddenly, he thought of something and Migu asked Lu Jiming coldly, "Where's the driver of the truck?" Lu Jiming replied, "The truck was parked by the roadside. Madam lost control of her car and crashed into it. The driver was not present at that time." Migu glanced at Xiao Bao, who was in Sister Song's arms, and asked coldly, "Could she have crashed into it on purpose? How is that possible? Wuyo even told me that she would take me out to eat delicious food after I leave the hospital. She wouldn't do such a stupid thing." Huang Ling said sadly, "Maybe young Master Gu is calling her." Ah ho. He's not dead. Magoo almost blurted out. The last two words were stuck in his throat, but he swallowed them back in time. Maupassant looked at him and raised his eyebrows, deep in thought. Ban Jianing raised his eyebrows slightly, waiting for Magoo's next sentence. He couldn't bear to ask her to go over. He knew that she was staying here to take care of Xiaobao. Magoo took 2 steps forward, his deep eyes carrying a hint of warning as he looked at Song Wuyo. Song Wuyo, don't you dare wake up. The sky soon brightened. The doctor came over to check on Song Wuyo. He shook his head with a grave expression. Magoo asked, "What's the situation?" The doctor turned around and said to the nurse, "Add oxygen." "What's the situation?" Magoo was anxious. Although her life is not in danger for the time being, her heartbeat is extremely weak. Her brain is seriously injured and she is in a severe coma. The doctor's expression was grave. "Whether she can wake up? I don't dare to say." When Magoo heard that, he was furious. He grabbed the doctor's collar and almost lifted him up. "Aren't you a doctor?" The doctor was in a difficult position. "Mr. Magoo, even doctors have to try their best." "Fuck you trying your best." Magoo raised his arm and threw the doctor out. The doctor was so scared by Magoo that he wet his pants and fled with the nurse. Magoo's anger made the ward quiet down. The atmosphere was so quiet that it was a little strange. Chapter 1080. Maupassant and Ban Jianing looked at him silently. He stepped forward and stood in front of the bed, looking down at Song Wuyo. "I will find the best doctor to treat you. Song Wuyo, I won't allow you to leave me again. I've waited for you for 1,000 years, loved you for 1,000 years. In this lifetime, I won't allow you to leave me so easily. Other than Huang Ling, everyone else. If you dare to greet the King of Hell, I will definitely kill him. I mean what I say. Everyone, why can't you take into account that I've loved you for 2 lifetimes? Why can't you take into account that I've suffered under the river of forgetfulness and give me a chance? Everyone, Dongfang Xian is no longer here, Ho is no longer here, but I'm still here. I've waited for you for 1,000 years, and this is what I get in return." Magoo sat down and held Song Wuyo's hand. Her hand was so cold. When he touched her cold hand, Magoo was afraid for a moment. He was afraid that she would really leave him. At this moment, he felt emotional and looked at Song Wuyo affectionately. "I don't want to be the president. As long as I can be with you, I can give up on money and power. Song Wuyo, if you had agreed to go to Ping Valley with me back then, would our ending be different?" Everyone was silent. They looked at him in surprise. "Although there is no Ping Valley in this world, I can buy an island and build our home there. We can live a life of peace and no longer care about the affairs of the underworld. When you wake up, you must persevere. Let me tell you, even if you go to the Yellow Springs Road, you won't be able to find Ah Ho." Magoo smiled bitterly. "Forget it. If you don't wake up, I'll go with you. Or we can go back to the X dynasty through time and space. Or perhaps you're not noble consort Song yet. You're just a lieutenant general, and Ah Ho and I are still generals. If we were to return to the past, I would fight for you no matter what. Even if I had to force you, I wouldn't allow you to be with Ah Ho. What childhood sweetheart? What about marrying him for life? I don't care about that. I only want you." When Maupassant and Ban Jianing heard this, their eyes were filled with raging waves as they looked at Magoo in shock. His face was filled with grief. It was the sort of grief that came from the ancient era. Just looking at him made one's heart ache. His words were strange, just like what Huang Ling had said before. Maupassant looked at Huang Ling and saw that her eyes were slightly red. She looked somewhat distressed as she quietly looked at the unconscious Song Woo-yo. She appeared very calm when she heard what Migu said. It was as if she had experienced what he said before. Maupassant raised his eyebrows and looked at Migu again. They had a story. Migu gently rubbed Song Woo-yo's soft and seemingly boneless hand. He looked at Song Woo-yo affectionately and painfully and smiled bitterly. Why are we all so foolish? Ah Ho once treated you like that. He killed your entire family and gave you the white silk. You still love him. I clearly know that I can't have you, yet I still love you so bitterly. We're all foolish. Huang Ling looked at Migu with tears in her eyes. Migu, no one is foolish in love. You love Woo-yo, and Woo-yo loves Haozi. You're both not foolish. The one who killed Woo-yo's entire family and gave her the white silk wasn't Haozi, but Dongfang Xian. You shouldn't vent all your hatred from your previous life on Haozi. That's very unfair to him. When Maupassant heard this, he raised his eyebrows and pursed his thin lips tightly. He looked at Huang Ling in silence. As expected, she had experienced things that he couldn't imagine. What exactly was inside? Chapter 1081. You don't know, but Ah Ho is Dongfang Xian. When I was at the Wangchuan River, I watched him drink Meng Po's soup and cross the bridge of helplessness. Ah Ho is Dongfang Xian. Migu glanced at Huang Ling with a wry smile. Right now, he was only in his own world. He had completely forgotten about Maupassant, Ban Jianing, Su Jing, and Lu Jiming. You're wrong. Dongfang Xian is Dongfang Xian. Haozi is Haozi. They're not the same person. They don't live in the same world. Haozi doesn't have any memories of his previous life. He doesn't know how he treated Woo-yo in his previous life. He experienced the pain of reincarnation and was reincarnated here. He's the young master of the Gu family, the CEO of the Gu Clan Corporation, and Woo-yo's husband. It's really unfair to him that you have to put Dongfang Xian's mistakes on him. Unfair. Migu's eyes were filled with unwillingness. He clearly knows that Woo-yo and I are innocent. He clearly knows that I love Woo-yo deeply. Why doesn't he let me be with her? He clearly knows Woo-yo's heart. She accompanied him to conquer the country, but what did she get in the end? He locked me up in prison and tortured me bitterly. I died in prison in less than a year. Is this fair to me? You have to recognize that you're Migu now. Whether it's Migu or Tang Weibo, my love for Woo-yo will never change. It won't change even in 2 lifetimes. But love can't be forced. The person Woo-yo loves is Haozi. If you insist on making her love you, it's unfair to her. Just like how Qing Wanduo loves you. If she forces you to love her, won't you hate her? Huang Ling looked deeply at Migu as she spoke. A forcibly picked melon isn't sweet. A forced love is destined to not go far. Migu, the doctor said that Woo-yo's willpower is very weak. She has a desire to live, so we don't know if she can wake up. You know better than me how much Woo-yo loves Haozi. She came here alone from the Axe dynasty. She was helpless, confused, and dependent on Haozi. Now that Haozi's gone, she persevered for so long because she still has Xiaobao. And she's in the Axe dynasty. She didn't hate Dongfang Xian when he banished her twos and had a harem of 3,000 beauties, but she didn't hate Dongfang Xian in the Axe dynasty zest. Haozi love tea. Just like you, if Woo-yo really can't wake up, you'll follow her, right? Huang Ling looked at Migu and said earnestly, I believe that if the person sitting next to her was Haozi, Woo-yo's situation might be more optimistic. After Migu heard this, his sad eyes flashed slightly. A hint of complexity flashed through them. Maupassant, Ban Jianing, Lu Jiming, as well as Su Jing and Sister Song, had even more complicated looks in their eyes. Su Jing repeatedly recalled the changes in Song Wuyo. She remembered very clearly that her miss began to change greatly after the car accident. Then, she would accidentally say things that surprised her from time to time. For example, she said that she had been fighting for 8 years and drank with her brothers. For example, she suddenly knew how to design retro clothes. For example, she knew how to play the Kong Ho and other zither. For example, she became more elegant. It turned out that she wasn't Miss, but noble consort Song of the Axe dynasty. She had transmigrated here. Maupassant looked at Huang Ling quietly. At this moment, he was thinking a lot. Migu had been in the hospital accompanying Song Wuyo. After a day and night, Song Wuyo still didn't wake up. Migu seemed to be prepared. If she died, he would accompany her. Chapter 1082. Maupassant accompanied Huang Ling back to Huang Ling's ward. Huang Ling was in a bad mood. Ning Wuyo's injury and Migu's performance had affected her. You've been tired for so long. It's time to lie down and rest. Maupassant rubbed Huang Ling's head. Huang Ling sat on the edge of the bed and looked up at Maupassant. Brother Mo, do you think Migu will let Haozi go? Maupassant shook his head. It's hard to say. Then Wuyo's injury, isn't it? Huang Ling was anxious. If he doesn't let her go, Migu is too cruel. Young Master Gu has been imprisoned by him for so long. He must have suffered a lot. Huang Ling frowned. Wasn't that so? He should have added all the suffering he had suffered in his previous life to Haozi. Poor thing. Haozi was Haozi, and Dongfang Xian was Dongfang Xian. He had mixed it up. If he doesn't let young Master Gu out in the next 2 days, we'll take action, Maupassant said. Huang Ling grabbed Maupassant's hand. You must be careful. Maupassant smiled. For you, I will be careful. Huang Ling hugged Maupassant's waist and pressed her face against his abdomen. I've experienced and seen too many farewells. Farewells are really painful. Brother Mo, let's not let the other party suffer such pain, all right? Maupassant's eyes were gentle as he hugged her gently. Okay, of course. I really hope that Migu can see the truth, repent, and let Haozi go. Resentment is deeply rooted. It's hard to turn back. Seeing Wuyo like this, my heart hurts. I understand. Brother Mo, actually, Huang Ling wanted to say something but stopped. She pursed her lips and sighed. I don't know how to tell you. Maupassant curled his lips and smiled faintly. Then don't say it. Wait until you know how to tell me. All right. When Haozi comes back, we'll sit down and tell him a good story. Maupassant lowered his eyes and looked at her with a smile. I'm getting more and more interested in your story. It's outrageous and unbelievable. You'll be shocked. Huang Ling smiled. Scared? Do you think your brother Mo is a coward? It's not that I'm a coward. It's just that something like this is too terrifying. Nothing is too strange in this world. There's nothing to be afraid of. Right now, I only hope that Migu can let Haozi go. Little brother Ling, calling young Master Gu that way in front of me makes me jealous. You can call me Haozi, but you have to call me darling. When Huang Ling heard this, she looked up at Maupassant in surprise. You're jealous. To be honest, she had never seen him jealous before. She looked at him. Humph. He said he was jealous, but the expression on his face was normal. Maupassant nodded. Of course. When I'm jealous, things will become very bad. Huang Ling blinked. what will become very bad. Maupassant smiled mischievously. For example, saving young Master Gu. When Huang Ling heard this, she punched him. Try not to save him. I really want to try and see how you'll treat me. Huang Ling smiled mischievously. Strong you. Wan will be strong to the point that you'll beg for mercy. Such good benefits. Then I really don't want to save him. Let me finish. If you don't save him, you'll find a woman who's strong. If you save him, you'll find a woman who's strong. Maupassant muttered, find a woman. Yes, find a beautiful one. She'll be concave and convex when she should be, got it? Don't find a woman like you. She's neither concave nor convex when she should be. Chapter 1083. When Huang Ling heard that, she was frustrated. She glared at Maupassant and said in a low voice, Maupassant, who do you think needs to be concave or convex? Maupassant sized her up with a teasing gaze. Do you dare to say that you are curvy and bulky? If it weren't for the fact that I haven't recovered from my injury, I would beat you until your whole body is uneven. The whole afternoon passed. Migu stayed in Song Wuyo's ward and didn't leave. Ban Jianing, who was guarding beside him, sat there silently and looked at him. Ban Jianing raised his eyebrows and thought to himself, I didn't think of letting my brother-in-law go. Ban Jianing said, I'm going to let the media spread the news about my sister's injury. This way, my brother-in-law should be able to see it and come back. Don't spread it. Migu looked at Ban Jianing sternly. Even if it spreads to the whole world, Aho won't see it. I feel that my brother-in-law is not dead. He must have seen it. I'll shut down whichever media company dares to spread it. Let's see if they still dare to report this news. He didn't want others to gloat over Song Wuyo's misfortune. Those women who were jealous of her would definitely curse or pray for her to die quickly if they knew that she was injured. The human heart was too scary. Brother-in-law might see it and come back. Then, my sister will wake up. If he doesn't come back, my sister's willpower won't be strong enough and she won't wake up. I don't believe it. If she's really seriously injured, it's useless even if Aho comes back. I'll find a better doctor to treat Wuyo. If it doesn't work, I'll send her to America. So, he didn't intend to let his brother-in-law off. The doctor said that my sister's willpower is weak. Of course her willpower is weak when she's seriously injured. Ban Jianing knew that no matter what he said, he wouldn't let Gu Yanhao off. Ban Jianing looked at Migu and asked, Migu, is what you said just now true? Are you all from the Millennium Era? Yes. They had heard it, and Migu didn't want to hide it. He glanced at Ban Jianing. This boy had the same appearance as Song Jiaxi in his previous life. His tone softened a little. I love your sister very, very much. For her, I suffered a lot. Ban Jianing looked at him. Have you asked my sister if she wants you to bear this pain for her? If it weren't for Dongfang Xian, she would be very happy. If it weren't for Dongfang Xian, she wouldn't have died, and she wouldn't have come here. It was fine that she came here, but why was the person she loved still Dongfang Xian and not him? Migu, if brother-in-law is really Dongfang Xian and makes sister sad, what will you do? Migu's eyes flashed with coldness. Kill him. When Ban Jianing heard this, his heart skipped a beat. You can't let him go. Migu smiled. If I let him go, who will let me go? You can't distinguish between the previous life and the current life. Ban Jianing was helpless. No matter which life it is, I am still me. Wuyo is still Wuyo. Migu looked at Ban Jianing. You are still you. Ban Jianing pursed his lips. Of course, he was still him. He hadn't experienced these magical things and had the memories of his previous life. After chatting with Magoo for about 10 minutes, Ban Jianing got an answer from his words. Magoo would help Song Wuyo find a better doctor to treat her, but he wouldn't let Gu Yanhao go. At dinner time, Sister Song brought food over. Ban Jianing asked Magoo to eat, but Magoo wasn't in the mood. Ban Jianing persuaded him to go back and rest, but he was scolded. Chapter 1084. In the end, Ban Jianing gave up and said that he wanted to go out for some fresh air. Actually, he came to Huang Ling's ward. Maupassant and Huang Ling had just eaten. Maupassant had cooked a bowl of noodles for her. Huang Ling ate quite well. Seeing him come in, Maupassant and Huang Ling asked anxiously, "How is it?" Ban Jianing looked at Maupassant. "Let's take action. Magoo doesn't intend to let my brother-in-law out. He said that if it doesn't work, he will send my sister to America." When Huang Ling heard this, she panicked. "We can't send her to America." Maupassant's eyes were deep. "It seems that we can only take action." Ban Jianing nodded. These 2 days, Magoo isn't in the mood to care about other things. "Brother Mo, let's take action tonight. How about it?" Ban Jianing was much younger than Maupassant. He followed Huang Ling and called him Brother Mo. At first, Maupassant didn't agree. Only Huang Ling could call him Brother Mo. His subordinates all called him Chief. His friends all called him by his name. Only Huang Ling called him Brother Mo. Now, there was one more person calling him that. Huang Ling's patent seemed to have been taken away by someone else. But thinking about it, Ban Jianing was a man. If it was a woman, he wouldn't let her call him that. Ban Jianing stayed in Huang Ling's ward for a long time. He discussed with Maupassant how to save Gu Yanhao. At night, Magoo suddenly became very selfish. He didn't let Su Jing and the others stay in the ward. He wanted to be alone and watch over Song Wuyo. He was afraid that Song Wuyo would leave him just like that. So, he selfishly wanted to take all the time he had with her. He was busy with national affairs, but he didn't care. Uncle Fu called him several times, but he didn't answer. He was like a person who had given up on himself, an incapable ruler who did not attend court for the sake of women. He didn't know that an earth-shattering change had taken place that night. At dawn, the doctor on duty knocked on the door and came in, waking up Magoo, who was sitting on the chair. Magoo thought that Song Wuyo had woken up and suddenly opened his eyes. When he saw that it was a doctor, his gaze suddenly turned cold. Behind him were 2 nurses. Seeing that they were about to push Song Wuyo out, Magoo asked, "What are you doing?" The doctor politely said to Magoo, "Bring Mrs. Gu for a checkup in advance. The attending doctor will have to see the report when he comes to work." Without a doubt, Magoo followed them out of the ward. The phone in his pocket rang several times, but he acted as if he didn't hear it. Song Wuyo was pushed into the MRI room. Magoo could not go in, so he had to wait outside. Bang, 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 the sound of anxious footsteps from leather shoes broke the quiet corridor in the morning. Magoo, who was sitting on the lounge chair, looked in the direction of the sound. It was Uncle Fu. Uncle Blessing ran over in a hurry. His anxious expression was written all over his face. Something bad had happened. Magoo raised his eyebrows and looked coldly at Uncle Fu, who ran closer and stopped in front of him. Uncle Fu panted. "Young master, why didn't you answer the phone? What happened?" Magoo asked indifferently. To him, there was nothing more important than Song Wuyo. Young Master Gu was rescued. When Magoo heard this, his expression changed drastically. He suddenly jumped up from the chair. What did you say? The villa was bombed, the mechanism was destroyed, and young Master Gu was rescued. Uncle Fu said. Sweat kept flowing from his forehead. Who did it? I think it was young Master Gu's people. How did they know that Gu Yanhao was locked up there? Magoo roared. Uncle Fu was shocked. I don't know either. You're tuning into the LoveLore Library YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.